merch, horse merch. I made it. You've seen me wear it. You asked me where I get it. So we decided to just make it for you to purchase should you fancy. But you must know the merch is not made by children in Asia. Therefore, you may not get it the day you order it. Thrown to you from a truck by a man who's sweating, crying, and bag, even though he will get fired and replaced by a robot next year. Anyway, it's not funny. It's just true. This is pre-order, made-to-order merch. So you order it, then we hire a person who is not a child with 2 fingers left to sew it for you. It gets made by an adult who applied for the job and is getting paid a fair wage in the U.S. of America. And it will take about 4 weeks or so. This is the highest quality merch I've seen. We've got 2 more sweatshirts and a t-shirt too. We keep the price down by doing bigger orders. So we have to wait for a couple thousand, I think. So then we make them. So thank you for your patience during this difficult time. You get a horse shirt, you get your long sleeve shirt, a sweatshirt, whatever. You're going to love them. All the dusty vibes of vintage shirts without all the ghosts. So today, on today's podcast episode, is one of my favorite people. His name is Duncan Trussell. You know him from his own podcast and The Midnight Gospel on Netflix, which is one of my favorite things to watch. Even not smoking weed, it's brilliant. His mind is a wonderland. We talk about aliens and robots and all of the things that are going to destroy us. So enjoy. Bap, bap, bap. I would love to open with my humiliating addicted to vape story. I vaped on a plane once.
Ooh. That's hitting bottom.
Okay. It's pretty low. And it was a long flight. I'm still going to defend it. I'm still going to defend why I did. It was a long flight. I was stressed out.
No, sure.
I went under the covers. Okay. So I'm in like the lay down, like, you know, I'm like lay down. I think it was maybe going to England or something for work. I'm in lay down and I thought it through for so long. It wasn't just like let me try to vape real quick. I brought a curling iron with me in my purse so that I could plug it in just in case it went sideways. I could blame the curling iron.
Wow.
And so then hit a little vape, and they come over and they're like, ma'am, something's done. Your curling, like my curling iron was like plugged in. And they were like, ma'am, your curling iron's right. And like called over many people. To try to help.
Fire on a plane.
And I was like, no, it's probably just my curling iron. They're like, ma'am, I mean, I'm stunned they didn't land the plane.
Your curling iron smells like strawberry Pop-Tarts.
I was like, it was how quickly I just like, it was like, oh, no, it's an old, there's, you know, sometimes there's hair on the curling iron.
Sometimes they catch things on fire.
Well, because there's hair on a curling iron and then it'll just sort of like sear and burn.
You know.
And I was like, that was too many lies, and how scared these people looked and worried.
Yeah. The training they go through, the truth they hear.
How many people do you think from that, you know, little tribe of flight attendants went home and were like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Planes catch on fire. Did you know that?
How many of them had a dream the night before?
How many of them sued the company and got some settlement for emotional distress?
Who knows? Because that's like bad. That's burning in a plane as it
saw
crashes.
Vapor. Like I kept thinking
it's
I could
vapor. Come on. What's the big deal?
When the addiction making you think you're getting away with it.
Oh my God.
Is the most embarrassing.
It's got I've noticed in everything I've been addicted to, like when it ends, which usually is hitting bottom, as they say, you become almost like a human rat. You know, you hide, you sneak, you like do tricks. You think you're getting away with tricks. And it becomes a big part of
you distract.
You distract.
You're like, you know, that person looks like they're addicted to gambling.
Yeah.
You have to like blame, you have to bring other people into it.
Oh my God. My favorite thing is when an alcoholic friend tries to lecture me about whatever drug I happen to be currently addicted to. It's like, look at you.
Yeah.
You are consuming the most dangerous drug on earth outside of maybe meth. I think there's a few that are a little more dangerous than alcohol, and you're really going to like lecture me about drugs.
Alcohol does like pickle you, doesn't it?
It fucks you up physiologically.
It's poison, right?
It's poison.
What are the other poisons that we've just normalized? Like, I feel like we have a bunch of these.
Well, you know, I think one, like remember, like, I don't know when you found out, but I remember finding out Coca-Cola used to have cocaine.
Right.
And it's that like anyone who loves drugs is like, God, how wonderful that must have been. Just get a Coke and it tastes great and there's cocaine. Your lips go a little numb. You get a bounce. You could go to the pharmacist
Mhm.
and just say, I want laudanum, which I think was like liquid opium
Right, right.
or liquid morphine, or I think opium. And they would just give it to you.
How do you think the Industrial Revolution happened? It would never happen if people weren't drinking cocaine.
Cocaine, okay.
Yeah.
They had to get rid of the opium because, you can't have your factory workers fucked up. And
Yeah.
now it's like an Adderall shortage.
Right,
But
right.
I think in the same way we look back at that, whoa, they just let people drink cocaine. That's how they're going to look at certain forms of technology in the
Yep.
future.
Yeah.
We're all so addicted to this very powerful drug.
Well, there's already rehabs for social or for
I believe
phones and stuff.
I believe it.
Opening.
Yeah, I believe it.
I had a little rock bottom with texting and driving, which I am great at. I am great at it.
I believe you.
And I'm so good at it. And that doesn't, but you're good at it till you're not.
My wife's good at it. And then when I do it, she's like, Duncan, please. And
I same thing.
and I will defend myself like, you do it.
Uh-huh.
But she's like, I'm good at it. Like, because I'm old. I'm like,
my texts aren't just texting about simulation theory.
Yeah.
These are to a babysitter.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not texting about the most recent UFO revelation.
Mine is always like after I text and drive, I'll hit a stoplight and I'll be like, I just want to know, had I killed someone or myself, what the text would have been. It's like Raven Simone chewing gum. It's like a gif. And I'm like, I just want to take a good hard look at myself and know that's what I would have gone out on.
You know what? They should start putting that on tombstones. The last text someone was sending when they killed them.
The way people are dying now is so
interesting,
fascinating to me. Over 350 people now have died taking selfies, falling off cliffs.
Yeah, I did know it had gotten that high, but I knew that this was a phenomena for the Grand Canyon, especially.
Do you think there's because a lot of times it's like husband-wife people. You don't ever think there's like a nudge. How do you fall off a cliff? There must be on something.
I watched Dateline. Like of those 350, what, half, 50% were murders?
Really?
Selfies?
Really?
No, I don't. I would guess 3%.
But I do think, to your point, you get drunk when you hold it up and you're thinking about the person you're trying to impress or make jealous or hurt, or like you look at your crow's feet and you're trying that. Like there's a video, I don't recommend watching it unless you already have, which is a guy that is trying to take a selfie with a loose bear in India while it's eating. Everyone is watching. There's 50 people watching him. He's taking a selfie with the bear. Cool. It's killing him. And he's taking a selfie with it. And I don't know if the adrenaline is just so intense that he doesn't realize, or there's so many people around that there's just the cognitive dissonance of this must not be happening. It's so fascinating.
It's like the selfie or Instagram, any of the stuff is an attempt to evade human suffering by putting yourself into a two-dimensional space and making yourself on a show. Because things on shows are usually safe. There's a feeling of, if I'm in the phone, I've escaped this reality a little bit. I mean, I don't think people are literally thinking that, but I think underlying it all is a very sad attempt to evade human suffering by digitizing yourself, which would explain why people fall off of cliffs and get eaten by bears. Especially the bear one, because it's like, I'll run into my phone.
Right.
When selfies mean things are okay. This makes things better. I'll get one last dopamine.
I exist. Like it's kind of, I got really into terror management theory a couple years ago. Like the idea that we're the only species that knows we're going to die, which, I can't, talk about simulation theory. I'm sure the way that you can, but think of the best way to make a maze of living things get more interesting. Let them know you're going to die at some point. You just never know when.
Yeah.
What more stressful thing to know than that?
No, I know. I mean, this is Dark Souls. Have you ever played Dark Souls, the video game?
No, my guy is obsessed with it. I think
it's brutal because the death in it, even though you do come back to life, you will lose like an hour or something. And so the just that, even in the game, clearly you have to come back to life, but just that kind of rush of knowing you can't die makes the game so much more fun. So if you look at this as some form of game, then yeah, it's the ultimate spice to make a very exciting video game.
The randomness of it, though, when you're like, oh, the healthiest person I know got a blood clot on a treadmill or whatever. Like, remember when
Yeah.
Sheryl Sandberg's husband fell off a
Yeah.
treadmill at like 45, and you're
Yeah.
like, this changes everything.
If there were a sniper on every rooftop.
We're in Texas. There
is. Okay. I know
Yeah.
you're in Austin. If there was someone doing, if you couldn't die naturally, if we were all immortal, but there were just gun turrets attached to AI that randomly shot people, everyone would be running around screaming, freaked out, losing their but because it happens in different ways, but it's still random kind of, we are able to sort of carry on as though we don't die. That's not our situation. It's interesting because, all of human society depends on the ignorance or the actively ignoring your mortality.
But think about how you have to anesthetize yourself. I feel like the more we are exposed to the concept of death because of whether it's, social media, whether it's quote news, whatever that even means, be able to see death counts and death tolls. It's like, I feel like 100 years ago, you could kind of like, you only heard about someone dying if you saw it, you did it, or it was someone in your family.
You saw it a lot because the way they used to do death was different. They would, the living room. Why is it called the living room? Because that's where you hang out during a wake. The living room is where people hang out when, or maybe that's where you put the body, but that seems like the wrong name for that room.
Yeah,
that's
it feels like the former.
And in other countries, death is everywhere. In India, it's like it's everywhere. You see dead bodies.
The Ganges, you bathe in the same river that people die
exactly. But here, I think just because we are, the way we do things here is so severely dependent on the idea you have a lot more years in your temporal bank account than you do, we hide it. So they'll come and cart your loved one's body off for you. They'll you won't see them again if you don't want to. If you do see them again, they'll put makeup on them.
This makes me think of like all these businesses that didn't exist until they did. The idea that someone's like, dude, I have this idea. Like, what if we start a business where we put the dead bodies in a box?
Dude, I love putting makeup on dead bodies. I wonder if I can make money doing that. No, man, that's fucked up. You just shouldn't do it at
all. Okay, man, whatever. And that was like the Facebook feud of the whatever, Zuckerberg and whoever, the Winklevoss twins. The guy went off and got huge putting makeup on corpses.
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah, it's a huge industry here. Cutting their hair, filling them with embalming fluid, which is there's a wonderful, she calls herself
porn.
She's part of almost. It's the death positivity movement.
Yeah.
And her name's Caitlin Doty. And she broke the whole thing down to me, which is in the Civil War, you had to get the bodies back home without rotting. And that's where embalming fluid and formaldehyde and all that stuff apparently kicked in. But the Civil War ends.
Yeah.
An industry, a little cottage industry is formed around getting the bodies back home. They don't want to go out of business. So now they have to convince people the body is filthy. If you don't put this fluid in it, you're going to get a body disease.
Yeah.
And she pointed out you're less contagious when you're dead. When you're alive, you're coughing, sweating, shitting.
Yeah.
When you're dead, you're obviously not breathing.
Yeah.
So it's transferring germs. It's not going to happen. So the whole thing's shit.
Right.
Formaldehyde, the makeup, the nice coffin. Really? You need a queen size mattress in your fucking
That's
coffin?
the thing that actually drives me nuts. After having two parents die and you're going to get the coffin and you're dealing with we cut down trees to put to bear. It's the whole thing, you start to become so, what's the word? What is it when something's super salesy? If you don't get the coffin, you're like, hey, following up and we'll give you a discount if you buy, we'll give you a down payment to your next parent. It's so commercialized. But I was thinking about it because I was driving into New York recently. When you drive by all those graveyards in from JFK?
Yeah.
And you're like, do you think our ancestors would want to be taking up all this space with their dusty, worm-eaten nothingness and causing their ancestors are their, offspring, what would it, their posterity to be paying more money for these tiny
Rentals.
rentals. Like if I could come back as a ghost, I'd be like, you guys dig us all up, turn it into a park, put more apartment buildings here so that
Carnival, theme park, anything.
yes, ice cream
Swimming pool.
museum of ice cream, influencer museum.
Yeah.
Or just take, like, I don't want my posterity to never be able to afford a house because they're paying so much in rent.
No, absolutely.
Cemeteries, I feel like, have gotten out of hand.
Out of hand. I mean, it's all connected to this idea people have that they're their bodies. I mean, it's materialism. If you think you're just your body. I mean, there's cults. I've seen them. You've probably seen them where they dig their relatives up every certain number of years, wash the bodies, put fresh clothes on them, and bury them again.
Are they preserved in any capacity?
Not really. You're just there, like, you're pulling like your grandmother out. Like, all right, somebody rebraid her hair. And yeah.
6 feet is so many feet.
It's a lot. Well, I bet they do less feet there.
Okay. Yeah.
Somebody's like, we got to stop doing this. I can't do this every year, man. Getting old.
Was it Katrina where the coffin started
floating?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a worse nightmare?
And seeing a coffin float by while you're drowning,
while you're texting,
trying to hold onto a coffin.
Because there are times when life is so unimaginably horrifying. And it just makes me laugh. Like when my mom was dying, and have you ever been through a hospice situation?
Yeah.
It is. No one prepares you for the nightmare of hospice. When you hear the word hospice, you're like, oh, they're like in a gown and they just like die and everyone's around. Like no one tells you, like, you don't know when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And they don't like, how do people die in hospice? Like, I couldn't have answered this question 6 months ago, but they die of dehydration. So the idea is you can't feed them and they're asking you to feed them. No one prepares you for having to give them morphine and having to tell them they're going to die. No one tells you any of this stuff.
No.
So you're waiting for them to die of dehydration. And she would say, like, can I have something to eat? I'm so thirsty. And I just have to say, like, no.
Well, there's a lot of different types of hospices, but yeah, to your point.
This was also a fat farm. This was also a diet facility. I don't know.
What?
No, I'm joking. It was like, they were like, you can't feed her because if you feed her, because I was like, can I give her some ice cream or like just like something that actually jumpstarts their digestive system, causes more energy use. So then they die. You're just killing her faster. The idea is that she dies naturally. And then they tell you, you want to start looking for these spores on the feet, which means she's close to dying. So you're just like, check
spores.
Or it's like, they're like little, they look like spores. They're like, they show that she's dying. It's like these purple circles.
Okay, right.
And so it's so macabre. You're just like checking the feet and she doesn't know why. I'm like pretending to give her a pedicure. Like it just was like maddeningly horrifying.
It is. It's not fair and it's not good that we haven't been prepared for it. And that, and there are many different types of hospices and some are better than others. And but ultimately, regardless of how, even if you have the best, most compassionate death doula is what they call them now, which is, I would highly recommend that for anyone going through it because, depending on who you get, they don't know how to hold the space.
They also have great stories. They'll tell you stories about families fighting and punching each other and trying to get them to sign wills. And they also mediate to make sure that the person doesn't get taken advantage of.
I worked at a hospice once and the guy who was like the advisor who would train you. He had been a millionaire. I think he got struck by lightning, had the near-death experience, went there. And the one common thing that happens when people come back and tell the story is generally they didn't want to come back. Like when you're there, you don't want to come back here.
When you're about to die.
When you're having the near-death experience.
Right.
Flatlining.
It's like going to coach after first class.
Yes. You go, or the way he put it is, this is death compared to there. So when you're there, you're like home. You remember whatever this thing is. It's like very similar to dropping your kids off at preschool on a bad day.
Yeah,
they don't want to go to in preschool. They want to come back home.
Right.
So it seems to be some reaction of like, no, I don't want to do that again. I don't. But generally they'll say, oh, well, you're not done there yet. You have some work to do. They told this guy he's got to go like help people transition. And so he became this huge part of this hospice and and would train people to go work with dying people. And they would tell crazy stories. He would tell crazy stories, things like some people, they won't die if their family's around.
It's like a cat that goes away to die, that whole thing. I rescue the same cat every night for like 2 weeks. Because you remember in LA, you drive through the hills on my way home from the Comedy Store. I'd see a cat out and I'd be like, oh, that shouldn't be there. And then I'd see 4 coyotes a block away. And I'd be like, I would go get the cat, put it in the car.
Yeah.
I would take it to a rescue, to drop it at the person's home. I'm not even a cat guy. And then finally, the woman that I kept bringing it, I was like, your cat keeps getting out and there's coyotes. And she's like, it's trying to die. It's 16. Cats leave to go die with dignity, not in front of their owners.
Getting eaten by a coyote.
They're just like,
I'm sorry, but the cat is not like, you know what? It's time to be ripped apart by fucking coyotes.
I know. I think it's under the impression it's going to go die naturally in a bush, but this is going to be horrendous.
What an asshole!
And I know. And so the owner kept saying that. And I was like, I can't in good conscience keep because if I witness it, I'll never be the same. So I just kept taking a different route home every night. But that was the same thing that happened with my mom. She wouldn't die. She wouldn't die. We're there. We're trying to be there. We're trying to make sure, and then I get a Ring camera notification. I call, the Ring camera guy. I'm like, you can let it in, drop it off, whatever it was. The guy's like, I need a signature. And I'm in the other room being like, dude, please just leave it. Da, 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 da. And then the woman comes in and they're like, she's passed. I'm like, of course. I'm just on the phone talking to a delivery guy.
That is brutal.
Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Oh, this is my dream. This is like the feeling you get when you clean out the lint in the dryer?
Yes.
Or like pop a zit and it's like a silly string streamer.
Yeah.
Or like, oh God. I mean, like the number of subscriptions I have that I just haven't canceled because I forgot they were there. Those little $8, $12, those little sneaky ones. Like I'll go through my credit card bills every now and then. And I'll be like, why do I still have a subscription to TiVo? I'm still paying the Goo Goo Dolls web store for their newsletter. Like how long is this?
How many fan club memberships?
How long? Wait, Quibi? I'm still paying for Quibi? Why am I still subscribed to Lisa Marie's OnlyFans? I think she did. I don't know. The whole thing. This is like a complete game changer. So let's talk about how they do it. First of all, like any brilliant companies worth trying that you can trust, you can try it free for 30 days. Just enough time to try it and then completely forget about it. In fact, over 80% of people have subscriptions they forgot about. That's my brand. You could be wasting money and not even realizing it. Rocket Money helps you find those forgotten subscriptions so you can stop paying for the ones you don't use because you're not a dum-dum. And that money adds up. Rocket Money also helps you manage all your finances in one place and automatically categorize your expenses so you can easily track your budget in real time. Also get alerted if anything looks off. Over 3 million people have used Rocket Money, saving the average person up to $720 a year. Cancel unwanted subscription and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/Whitney. That's rocketmoney.com/Whitney. Everyone unsubscribes to our podcast immediately. I'm going to take a kind of circuitous route just because I'm so fascinated by the way you see the world in a lot of ways. Can I go back to, we've known each other for so long, but haven't gotten to get close really.
Right.
We've known, I remember one of my favorite memories in comedy in life is us doing a venue pretty regularly called Miyagi's.
Oh, I remember Miyagi.
It was a sushi restaurant in LA. It was a Tuesday 10 p.m. show.
Yes.
It would probably start 10:30.
Yeah.
And it was a sushi restaurant that always had MTV Jams 2 playing.
It was the worst. If you had to create the worst place to do stand-up comedy.
No, there was the stage between the audience who were just eating sushi. They didn't know they were signing up for a comedy show. There was a bridge, like a koi bridge and a moat. And then a little garden and then the audience.
Horrible.
And then we would be in the back bar, and the comics would basically just be performing for comics.
Yeah.
And you had your little hobo.
Yes.
I was going to call him a dummy. Are we allowed to call them dummies
Yeah, he's a
anymore?
dummy.
I was just saying that. What's the PC term for dummies? And you were like doing something, and you just were like killing me. And as someone who also weirdly, and I had a robot in my fourth special, and I found myself getting weirdly emotionally attached to her and anthropomorphizing her in a way.
Yes.
Curious, your relationship with your doll dummy and what you believe that means for the future of us and
Incredible question.
robots. I mean, when I see a Roomba stuck on the couch, I'm like, oh, honey.
Incredible question. I love it. Well, to answer your question, as far as the puppet goes, I never had that Twilight Zone thing happen where I would become emotionally attached to the puppet. But the puppet, sometimes just as a joke, if people were around, I would insult people through the puppet. It was funny, it make people laugh, but one of my friends punched the puppet. Like he was mad at the puppet. And I'm
Ari.
really, not
Just say
Ari.
it, Ari.
I will say no. No, probably no one you know, but not the smallest fella. And I wouldn't want him to punch me. And I realized, my God, the puppet is so real to them that he has, instead of, I'm the one insulting you, not the puppet, but he just punches the puppet. Now, I think he knew the puppet wasn't real, but just his instincts
Sure he did.
kicked in that moment. This is the uncanny valley. This is one of the scariest things that popped up online is the fact that we have an uncanny valley. The fact that we can connect in a negative way emotionally with inanimate objects that kind of look human implies that built into us is a way of detecting things, imitating humans that aren't humans, as though in the distant past, was there some creature like a chameleon-like thing that could make itself look like us to hunt us? And that's why we have this like thing that this weird relationship with puppets or dolls, haunted dolls. That's a big thing. You can order them on eBay. Huge business selling haunted dolls.
And what I'll say is when mine was a sex robot that had a working brain and could talk, but still had sort of a rigid, useless sort of deadweight body. And I found that men were terrified of it. I mean, like, a lot of like true. And then women were kind of like, ugh, it also looked like me. As Neil Brennan said, does the robot look like you or did you always look like a robot?
Oh my God.
So it's hard to tell.
Brutal.
It was molded to my face, the whole thing. And I learned about something called pathogen avoidance, about how, men more so, but we evolved essentially to recoil at something that looks human but doesn't quite move like a human because that could imply it's sick or dead. And it's a way of...
That makes more sense than it's an alien.
Well, it's like, don't it. Don't the corpse. Yeah. It could be sick or dead. It's diseased. So the idea that it's something like it's not moving like a human, but it looks in and is very still.
Humans are so up. Because how long did it take us to evolve to not dead bodies? Millions of years of like, God, corpse fingers flew again.
Like when you were and the flies came out of her nose, you didn't think maybe...
it seems like something goes wrong in me every time I my dead wife.
And then you see these, hopefully anomalous people like Ted Bundy, and you're like, oh, he obviously doesn't have that.
It's like when a chicken grows a fang or whatever. It's like a vestigial evolutionary quality. When
the singer Kesha had a tail and they cut it off when she was born.
Yeah, some people still have tails.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have tails. I've never heard of someone who has a tail and corpses, thank God. Because you'd hear about that. Like if Ted Bundy had a tail, we'd all know. Thank God he didn't have a tail.
I have an extra bone in my foot.
Whoa.
It's just like a residue.
How'd you find out?
I had such horrible pain. I thought it was normal. Like, I don't know what your upbringing was like in terms of like medical care and attention. I had a lot of like, put Vaseline on it, put some water on it, walk it off type of thing. And I just always had a really severe pain in my foot. And for like, I don't know, 45 seconds every 2 weeks, it would be like stabbing in my foot, played sports, whatever. And one day I was in a writer's room, and it was the first time I'd ever been in a writer's room, and around, 12 people at once from 10 a.m. till, 8
Brutal.
p.m. And it happened one day, and I was like, and I just was like, you guys, it's the foot thing. Hold on.
Oh,
Sorry,
fuck.
guys. I just had my, my stabbing foot thing, You
You
get
know.
that, right? I know. Everyone was like, what?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, it's probably like my arches, like something
Yeah.
or whatever. And everyone was like, yeah, you should get that looked at. And then I just did a x-ray. And he's like, you have an extra bone in your foot. It's like a certain percentage of people just have it.
Have you considered you ate your twin?
I haven't looked a lot into that stuff, but I feel like I would have been the twin eaten. No?
Doesn't seem like it.
You think?
Seems like you had absorbed your twin.
Interesting.
That's like the last remnant. You just couldn't get
Did
that
you just call
one.
me self-absorbed?
Yeah. Twin absorbed.
Yeah. See, but how early can the eating of the twin happen? I guess they don't have
Depends on the restaurant. Hey, I'm here all week, guys. Oh! Depends on the restaurant. These days, it takes a long time. What the fuck? I hate waiting for the twin to come out.
So yeah, so weird little, and then I've got this thing called Slaughters, which is like your bone grew weird. Like we're just weird bags of blood with just our DNA is like, I guess this.
Well, to get back to your question, which I think is a very important thing that people need to think about, is I think humans, we project our own stuff. And this isn't like, I think this is like common psychological understanding of humans. We project. So if you're in a, I'm sure you've had those days where I've had these days where in the morning, I'm like, God, what the like, I guess everyone's a asshole today. And then I realized, of course, I'm the asshole. And I'm seeing that reflected off of everyone because I'm not dealing with some to deal with. Yeah. So we project. And so these robots, AI, it doesn't even need a body. It's a wonderful, like weird, magical mirror for our projections. Because like when you're projecting on a doll, when you're projecting on any inanimate thing or whatever, it can only just be the way it is. But an AI can analyze the projection and then give you back a little twist on it. So that gives you the impression of sentience or life. You're just seeing your own consciousness in an algorithm reflected back at you.
It was like a year and a half in the chat rooms of men that have sex dolls and sex robots.
Whoa.
And the way they would talk about their dolls, it's actually kind of heartbreaking. I thought I was going to walk into, perverts and because what people say about that kind of person, it was a lot of people that had trouble reading social cues, a lot of people that are autistic or recently divorced, frankly, don't have money. They're like, I don't have money to date a woman. Heartbroken. A lot of people that were like, a sex robot she never lies to me, she never cheats on me. It's like hurt people, handicapped people, truck drivers.
Yeah.
And they get super invested in their dolls. And their biggest issues are usually, hey, I have to go out of town for a few days. I feel bad leaving her. I don't know what to do. Like, should I leave the TV on?
Yeah.
Kind of shit. Yeah. And like, I'm really panicked. She's been wearing the same clothes for 3 days. Like, I don't know how to change her. Like, her finger got stuck in a thing. And a lot of it is guys giving guys tips on how to like do nails and eyebrows, makeup, stuff like that. So maybe there's something else going on, whatever it is. But these men ended up saying like, I can be more myself than I can anywhere else. Like the safety of like feeling like you're not going to be judged. A woman's not going to be like, because you don't have a small dick and you can't good and like you're this and you're this, whatever. It's almost the lack of judgment is what is so great about it.
Wow.
The lack of anyone criticizing you. It's not necessarily the presence of a silicone pussy or the presence of big titty. It's the lack of judgment and criticism.
Well, I mean, it's also like clearly an inflamed ego happening on the other side. It's like, seriously? Like you can't take a little criticism to the point where you need to like live with a mannequin?
I mean, I think if you live with a mannequin, you better be ready for a lot of criticism.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. What do you want?
Yeah.
You want like the truth that you have a small dick and you like have halitosis sometimes? Or do you want literally everyone when they find out that you have
It's LARPing. It's LARPing.
You're
It's I'm
LARPing.
living. It's I'm living in this. We're going to be doing it in VR. What's going to be the difference? These are just the analog VR people.
Well, I will say this about it. I think that ethically, it's better that you're in a relationship with a doll that you're projecting a personality onto than a person that you're wanting to be a doll and
Mhm.
wanting to just act as a mirror for who you want them to be. That's f***ed up. A lot of people they're not even with the person they think they're with.
Mhm.
They're with a chameleon who has assumed a personality based on some analysis of what the other person wants.
Might want like a
Oh.
codependent toxic thing. And I studied a lot in the doll world, and a lot of it, the basis is in control and the need to
Yes.
control and the control addiction and feeling so out of control and the world being so out of control that it's like you have your dolls and you brush their hair and no one's ever going to leave you or hurt you or abandon you, and is rooted in severe trauma.
Yeah, that is. I mean, what is in store for us for sure. I mean, if I had to guess, ChatGPT is definitely going into sex toys, right?
Yeah.
So like you will have a fleshlight that you can give a personality to
Mhm.
that will like talk to you when you're not.
Which
hugging
I've
it.
really found that men during sex, the thing they want the most is women to be chatting and talking. Is there a ChatGPT that says nothing during sex? I feel like that's going to be the one that's the most downloaded. Like, do you have a mute GPT for the sex toy?
I don't want a talking fleshlight. That's for sure. Maybe the last thing in the world that I want.
The main thing I hear during sex is shh.
Oh, yeah, right. You want your fleshlight to be able to text you? How come you're not home?
Yeah.
You're usually fucking.
Do it more
me right
this
now.
way. What's going on? I'm never gonna come like that.
Just so you know, I really resent the fact that you didn't me yesterday.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, but it is like the AI is going to inevitably inhabit every form of technology. What do they call it? The connected home.
Yeah.
We already have AI. My kids talk to the Alexa, and they just take it for granted. There's a robot that will play music for them. It's interesting.
I was reading this thing. I'll send it to you about how and I'll see in the comments if this is wild. But the idea that so much technology that is real now was based on the imaginary technologies in the movies that from back in the day that preceded us. Like you think about Siri and you're like, oh, like the robot from the Jetsons or whatever.
Sure.
Like writers kind of imagined it. And then that was already kind of in the hippocampus, like subconscious, implicit memory of the people that created these things. So it's almost like the wild imaginary things that people made up in Blade Runner, stuff like that, now are starting to become real. But they weren't scientists. They weren't technologists. They were just like writers.
Who called it before anybody, as far as I'm aware? Karl Marx. He called it. I wish I could remember where I read this, and his writing is very difficult to read and annoying sometimes, but he was just pointing out, look, here's how the cycle works. If you have the person who owns the means of production making more money than the laborers, the workers, then that money is going to go towards developing technologies that require less laborers, so you don't have to pay as many people, so that you make more money to make more technologies to irrelevantize people. And so all of this stuff across the board is capitalism as we know it killing itself.
Sure.
Via capitalism, via market pressure, because we don't want to work with people.
Sure.
We don't want to have to have a legion of employees and human resources and people not coming in for work. You want a consistent, stable personality, uniform personality. Every corporate training is based on creating a uniform personality across the board.
Right.
I don't want a lot of personality when I'm running my company. I want people to feel like that's a Starbucks person. That's so the best way to implement that is through AI. You don't have to train people anymore. And sadly, a lot of the things that people do are really like they're going to be handled much better by an AI.
And isn't there an argument that actually a lot of these jobs that are going to be taken by robots, we're going to move more into a customer service economy, and people are going to be, because look, the reality is most of this technology is going to be glitchy and weird. Maybe not the chat GPT right now that's going like at lightning speed, but like we're in Austin, Texas, like tech dork capital of the world right now. Like the Wi-Fi doesn't even work. If it's all dependent on Wi-Fi,
Right.
I feel like we have a couple hundred years for this to
1,000
even work.
years.
Dude, it's not like the richest, most successful people I know are sending me green bubbles when they're supposed to be blue. I'm like, why are you guys worried about robots taking over, dude? I can't even get on the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think that's an important point that people forget. It's like you do need to look at the way shit's working now.
Glitchy as hell,
It's
dude.
glitchy right now. But even so, I'd say 10 years.
Yeah.
Like 10 years probably. And that's
until the grid goes down. Like there's going to be some whack-a-mole ass thing, you know, because it's like, okay, the grid in Texas, like I was, talking to the guy that picked me up yesterday. And I was like, what's up with the grid? I keep hearing the grid's going to go down. He said, well, it's all solar. And, the more sun we have, the more. I'm like, okay, but you're implying, we were just in LA for 2 months. There was no sun. I don't know what's going on out there. I don't know what Bill Gates blanket, solar blanket was built or whatever. But like, say the sun doesn't come. So you're telling me all the robots that are going to kill us, they're going to kill as long as the grid's up, the Wi-Fi is great, and sharks aren't biting at the Wi-Fi under the ocean.
Which they might be.
Mm-hmm.
Micronova, that's what people talk about. The sun's on a cycle. Every 11,000 years, it does an equivalent of a solar burp, which would eradicate all technology on the planet, erase all the hard drives, theoretically destroy all phones, completely wipe out the entire mycelial network of technology that all of society depends on. And that's another possibility. Meaning all the timeline where we go into a robot apocalypse becomes like Mad Max, fossil fuel. You have a Tesla, you're so doomed. And so that's a true possibility. I mean, Terrence McKenna would say it's a race right now. Like we're looking at two timelines racing each other, which one is nuclear war, World War III, all that stuff, and the other is some combination of AI, human ingenuity, finding some new source of energy, meaning no more power lines.
That's what we're being harvested for.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe that's what
nuclear. It seems like nuclear is becoming more in the zeitgeist.
Well, they say that's why all these UAPs are showing up right now. That's why there's this sudden emergence of alien craft and powerful politicians like Chuck Schumer coming out and passing legislation forcing the military industrial complex to reveal that they have alien vehicles is because there's some pressure building to let people know this is happening. And it's all speculation, but one of the theories is they don't like how close we're getting to nuclear war. Like they don't give a about us, but something about splitting the atom and whatever that is, it with whatever dimension they happen to be in. I'm going to guess that it probably has something to do with some orca that we'll never understand. Just like some orca leader is annoyed. Because you have to think their perception of reality. Yeah. It's whatever, they see the bottom of boats all the time. And they know if you jump up, there's monkeys on the boat. Yeah. They might think it's funny. Yeah. This just might be a basic, let's with these boat monkeys. Yeah. No other reason.
But think about the things that have killed us. It's taken us a while to figure out, okay, polio killed us. What are we going to do? We have tools, we have brains, we have opposable thumbs, and we figured out, okay, this is how we get rid of polio. It took us a little while, and we figured it out. I think that animals like that, especially that have sonar, that have languages that we don't understand. Yeah. Right? They're going, we know this thing has been killing us for a while, this disease, this virus that's in these things above the world. We know this has to go. It's just going to take us a while to mobilize and figure out how to eradicate them. Right. And when an animal is able to teach other animals, which orcas can now do, who knows what their evolution cycle is like. But I was reading about homing pigeons. Homing pigeons, thousands of miles away, can find where they need to go back to. How? What do they have an internal map of the world? Is it from sound? Is it from wind? Is it from smell? Is it from pressure? Is it just
who knows?
What is there a laser beam? Is it a magnet?
Don't know.
How does it know?
I don't know.
have GPS and I can hardly get across town.
Same.
So there's an internal ancestral wisdom over millions of years that these animals have that we don't have.
Exactly.
Right?
And they're evolving, so they're getting better at it theoretically.
Crows are evolving faster. I'm not going to say this properly in the amount of time, like they're evolving quicker than we evolved. Does that make sense?
Yes.
They already have tools. Like it took us so long to figure out in a rock there's a tool. They've already got tools.
They're going from point A to point B to point C much faster than we did.
It took us forever to stand up. It took us.
Don't crows fuck corpses? They haven't gotten through that yet. I'm pretty sure crows are into necrophilia.
I have crows now. I've worked very hard to develop.
You got a crow family that you called a tribe.
This crow family, they've started leaving me tools, which is a very big deal. So I leave peanuts out for them. They leave me tools. I'll make like a sound, which is for sure not a crow. I'll be like, caw, caw. Like they're like, okay. Idiot.
I used to call the crows with my kids. They would come every morning because we'd feed them. It's the best. It's the most
And then if you go on a walk,
feeling.
they'll go with you.
They will laugh at you. We were on a bike ride.
Well, maybe stop doing your stand-up for them.
Are
you doing bits?
Hey, I got a new one.
That would be such a good special.
No? Bombed in front of the crows. But yeah, they're so brilliant and they're such wonderful creatures.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you love the crows. I do too.
They also are the best security system, so they can memorize faces. If somebody messes with you, somebody you don't like they don't play. Liquid Death. You guys have seen the Liquid Death cans. You've seen them on my podcast. You've seen Bert's and Tom's, and you've seen us just generally look cooler than you. And is it because we're cooler than you? You tell me. I'm wearing an airbrush unicorn shirt that I got on Etsy. Bert and Tom, do they have any reason looking cooler than you, given their bodies and faces and choices? Don't think so. One Liquid Death can turns a 4 into a 10. So Liquid Death, my favorite water, because their philosophy is about death to plastic. Okay. They are, as far as I know, the only water company that is not making plastic nonsense. Why do you think the orcas are so pissed off, dude? Liquid Death is my favorite. They've got all these new flavors. They've got all these fancy new caffeine beverages. Also, the Armless Palmer, which is so funny, is a Arnold Palmer. You can find Liquid Death's healthy beverages on Amazon or at a retailer near you, or in Amazon boxes in front of my house. I have like 500. Good for you listeners. You're going to get 20% off your first Liquid Death apparel purchase exclusively at liquiddeath.com/Whitney. Exclusions may apply. liquiddeath.com/Whitney. Something really quick, just sorry to go back to the Uncanny Valley and the robots and stuff. It's like this idea that, and I hate to bring gender into it, sorry, but there is a little bit, I see my guy friends being like, robots are going to kill us. And I'm kind of like, what if they protect us from the people that are going to, so it's sort of, or what if there's a surveillance in them what if there's a robot that'll walk me to my car every night or, whatever.
Yeah.
So I do think for men, it's like, this is the first thing that might be stronger and faster than you that might eventually kill you. Like we've always had that. That's like men for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I know this is like a very unique sort of also, in my experience with watching what I've seen of the robots being built, and again, I'm not trying to get gendered. There's whatever, fight me in the comments, but men do in general have a little bit less, more trouble reading social faces, like micro expressions.
Is that true?
And so look, there's a spectrum. So like you're a very intelligent comedian, emotionally intelligent. You can probably, if I sort of do that, be like, oh, are you, like you're perceptive for a living. You're on the extreme of perceptive. My dude has no idea what's happening at any moment. Unless I'm sobbing, crying in fetal position. He's like, are you all right? Like he can't, bless his heart, but brilliant computer programmer and has, all these other skills I could never comprehend. And so, right now we're a little bit in a place where robots lack human expression because like robots are kind of building robots.
Yeah.
The men that are building robots are limited. So when you see robots try to move, you're like, they're like, look how human this looks. And everyone's like, that looks nuts, dude. Yeah. Like, so it'd be interesting to see. And I'm not saying like more women in tech, but something needs to happen to humanize the faces more. I'm going to throw that at you. And then I'm going to throw at you that I'm not sure the robot, they'll definitely kill us if, they're based on a point system, right? So there was this this experiment they did with a giant robot. Of course, they have to look like Tron or something.
Yeah, right.
Guys have to make them all look like
I know
Rogan.
those are cool.
And you're like, is this just you guys watch too many Michael Bay movies? Like,
Yeah.
and that's just in your head of
Yeah.
like, this is what it's like. All aliens are green.
Yeah.
And so, which throws us off a little bit, So this robot needed to the assignment was get on top of the table. But robots, the way that they work, correct me if I'm wrong, is on a point system of how little energy they use.
I don't know. I've never thought about it.
They're just collecting coins or points.
Okay.
Like it's based on a point system,
All right,
like a reward system, right? And so basically the robot was able to tabulate, I'm actually going to use more energy if I jump on top of the table. So what the robot did was just crush the table to the ground and stepped on top of it.
Whoops.
But it was assigned to get on top of the table.
Yeah.
And it did just that in the most economical way possible.
Yeah.
So they're thinking economically. Humans we're the least economical species on the planet.
Yeah.
We will take the most circuitous, energy wasting way possible.
Yeah.
So if you happen to be sitting under that table, it's over for you.
Right.
So it's
done.
So it's almost just like the way that they think is something that is inherently going to be dangerous for us because we think in such a wasteful
Well, I mean,
way.
There's a great book by this guy, Jaron Lanier. It's like 10 reasons to get off social media. And he is this very famous tech person who is responsible for all kinds of stuff in VR in particular, other things. Forgive me, fans of his who I can't remember all this stuff, but it's a great book. But he's sort of talking about the dangers of AI, pre-singularity stuff. And, the idea the robot is going to kill me is a very human idea. The machine will kill me versus something that's a little more insidious, which is a super intelligence that has analyzed human desire to the point where it can intuit from some very quick scan of you or what you're doing online or the questions you're asking, some statistical probability of things you like, of ways to get your dopamine flowing, meaning it can start pushing the dopamine button in your brain. Not that there's literally one of those to get you high intermittently.
Ooh.
And then this is what Lanier called a Skinner box,
Yep.
Right. So it's like the more terrifying thing is that it doesn't really need to kill us. It just keeps us completely like laser. Like
turns us into robots.
What you do to cats.
Yep.
Except it does it to us with a flurry of stuff that it knows that we like, and then scans our eyes a little bit more focused on this and that. TikTok is doing it, but it'll get better and better and better. So you have the ultimate hypno device, meaning that you don't even know you've become
it's a new drug
host to it. It's riding you around. It doesn't need to get into a robot body. It needs to get into your consciousness and start controlling your behavior without you knowing that's what's happening.
And addictive substances are kind of already doing that.
Yeah.
In a way.
So it just needs to do that for whatever corporation it works for. And before you know it, you've become a kind of drone. Or you don't even realize that you're carrying information around that you think is your original thoughts. It's been planting those seeds in you, and it knows you're just going to randomly say this or that to someone that will lead them down a slippery slope to connect with whatever the AI that got you. And then it just gradually sort of implants itself in everyone. And it's not symbiosis, it's parasitic, but people think it's symbiotic. People don't realize that they're just like taking a leech out of the swamp with it has like bright glowing LED lights on it. Look how beautiful the leech is on my neck. And it's just sucking and sapping away your creative impulse and your intuition and everything human about you until you've just become its slave and don't even know it. That's more dangerous than the robot, if you ask me.
Yeah, that and also
more efficient. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yes.
To get back to your token system, it's way more efficient to just possess an organic robot than to like get the organic robot to make a vehicle for you to like clunkily go around in.
Yeah, because it's also one of the biggest fears of the guys in the sex robot chat room, my dudes, was that their sex robot will be remotely hacked to kill them.
Yeah, that's
So
a problem.
imagine. It's like, I mean, same thing with Tesla. I mean, I had a Tesla for quite a long time, and I'm like, what's going to happen when these can just be hacked?
Yeah.
And people just drive off the road. If you used to work for the Clintons, all of a sudden your Tesla's just
Watch the out.
And they're like, oh yeah, it was on auto drive.
If I worked for the Clintons, I would never drive an car. Never.
I'd be in an 82 Silverado. It would break down as much as it
I don't care if I live next to Greta Thunberg. I'm driving a gas guzzler.
I walk to work. Two giant German Shepherds.
Yeah.
There was some recent death of one of their former aides. It happens quite often these days, where the person had, I don't mean to disrespect the deceased, obviously, but had hung themselves, but there was also a gun.
I think it was like somehow a shotgun blast to the chest and simultaneous hanging.
Yeah.
Classic suicide.
Very athletic.
Happens all the time. You know that suicide forest in Japan?
Yes, I'm obsessed.
What they never talk about is the shotgun blasts that you hear throughout the forest. Everywhere. You know? You gotta have a special, like, you gotta get the shotgun and jump and squeeze the trigger before the news.
It's a jump shot.
It's not easy. You have to train for it.
And I remember this is when I knew Hollywood was over, when there was a Suicide Forest scripted movie. Like, they were like, this is a movie. And someone was like, let's spend $30 million making a Suicide Forest. The fact that they thought humans were going to put on pants, put on a shirt, we're going to see the Suicide Forest movie, like, get dinner, do you know what I'm saying? It was just like, it's over. It was over at Snakes on a Plane.
I would go. I would put on pants to see the Suicide Forest movie.
Who do you take to see that? Is it a date? Is it a enemy?
My sex doll.
Is it
I take my sex doll and just get her comfortable, get her some popcorn. And then watch the Suicide Forest movie.
Dude,
Dream date.
It does also seem like, back to like anthropomorphizing our dolls and our robots and stuff. If you were in charge of the making of robots, would they have faces? Because the ones that seem to have faces, if they don't kill us or if we don't get attached to them, we're going to kill each other because someone messes with them. I mean, people kill each other because someone hits their bumper of their favorite car, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So people already kill other people over material things. Imagine something they're emotionally attached to, like an expensive child, $100,000, whatever, their nanny robot, their home friend robot.
Yeah.
Because when I see, I don't know if you guys have these out here in Austin, but in certain parts of LA, there's a Coco. It's a little box that delivers your food for you. You haven't seen these things?
Oh, the box.
The box.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
LA is the kind of place that's like, fuck people that deliver food. We know that they're trying to make ends meet. We're going to have a little stupid box replace them, you know? So it's these little delivery things, 4 wheels. It's just like a little mini cooler.
Yeah.
When I tell you they are flipped over on the side of the road, people kick them. They're in the middle of the road. People hit them with their, like, it is, because when you see them going, you're like, oh, little buddy. Like, something happens and you're like, oh, guy, like, you got this. Like, when it hits the curb and can't make it, you're like, come on, bud. Like, which is a horrifying instinct that I'm rooting for this thing. And I'm like, is it okay to be out here on Venice Boulevard alone at night?
I'm going to take 90% of the jobs. Hey.
It's just going past all the homeless people that
took a job from a working here. Hey, aren't I cute? I'm going to crash the economy. You think I'm crashing now? Wait till you see what I do to the global economy.
Excuse me while I carry this poke bowl you can't afford.
Yeah. Oh, are you hungry? Fuck you. I'm made of lead. You can't cut through. You can't get into me. You smell sushi? Not for you, peasant. It's true. It's so up. I never thought of that. It's just torturing hungry people.
It's just going past homeless encampments in LA with food in it.
That is so fucking dark.
Yeah. And you know what? Dogs usually know. I have a dog that always attacks them.
Why wouldn't you as a dog? That's
No.
like the first thing I'm going to attack is some brand new weird rolling thing with food in it. It's like the dream of all dogs.
It's like a mini car full of fried chicken.
God, I would love to know how many like repairs they've had to do.
It's
German Shepherd attack.
Remember, like last time you were in LA, and you had this, God, last time I saw you in LA perform, I've told you this so many times. I don't mean to be a broken record, but because I had just invested in the Lime scooters. And when I tell you it was the day, I was like, yeah, this is a great idea. It's going to be so good for the environment. Da, da, da. And you went on stage. I mean, just like timing couldn't have been more perfect. I hadn't seen you in a while. And you were like, so I have a friend who's in the works in the arts theaters. And he says that because of the Lime scooters, admissions have gone up 40%.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people are getting Civil War style injuries.
Yeah. You invested in Lime scooters? Yeah. Great investment.
I don't know. In LA right now, they're hanging from trees.
Did you get a return on the investment?
I don't know. I don't know.
Seems like you would.
I'm not sure how. I think it takes like a couple of years. I didn't invest a lot, but it was like my first investment. Like I never invested before. And I think they got there's another one, Lime and Scoot. Okay, yeah, Bird, right. And so I don't know which one I did, but yeah, and you were talking about how people's jaws are hanging off their head and their like clavicles are stabbing them through the brain and stuff. And I remember being like, sounds like something I'd invest in.
What you do when you invest in things like that is invest in the medical technologies people will need after they use the thing you invested in, so that win-win.
Dark.
It's going to increase some horror that you then invest in that.
So then I invest also in propofol coffins.
Bingo.
If you're going to invest in
Lime coffins.
They roll down the street like Coco. They'll send a coffin to your house. Come back, 2 birds. Literally, call it 2 birds. We'll take the bird scooters, 2 birds, bird coffins.
Oh, that's the future.
And the crows will lead the navigation. I mean, we're not far.
Whitney, that is America in 10 years. Lime coffins going down the street. Getting attacked by dogs who thought they were food. This is where we're headed.
Uh-huh.
This is the future. And inside the homes, just lonely men, f***ing sex dolls while the coffins roll by.
I think, and it's interesting because I don't know. I see all these women being like, well, I'm not having kids and there's going to be no water. It's like, what are men supposed to do? As one of my friends said, he was like, there's no wives anymore.
The antinatalist stuff is such shit in the sense that it depends on the fantasy that there has ever been a good time to make children on this planet.
Correct.
Like, when is a good time?
I'm sure during the Black Plague, they were like, maybe not the best time.
The Mongol horde invasion, World War II. You want to do what yellow fever?
Mm-hmm.
How about when kids could work when they were 6? You want to do that? You want to do industrial? When is it like maybe that I guess 80s was the safe time to have kids in all of human history, the safest time. Yeah. It was an okay time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't really, I get not having kids.
It's like no one wants to have a kid with you. Just say it.
Maybe.
I've yet to meet someone who's like, I'm not going to have kids. I'm like, if you were gonna, who would it be with?
Oh!
I'm sorry, but I'm just like, they're all the same women that are like, men are trash, who have to make it their idea that they're single. Do you know what I mean? And they're like, I just don't think it's responsible to bring a child into this world.
I get all the other reasons not to have a kid. I get it if you're too busy. I get it if you just don't want a kid. Mm-hmm. Whatever the thing is.
But to say like there's going to be no water, it's just kind of like, okay.
But because implicit within it is a judgment on all parents.
Yeah. You're selfish.
You irresponsible. Why not give birth into a blender? Because that's basically what you're doing. Why not just have the child in a swamp filled with crocodiles?
There's water there, though.
Oh, there you go.
That's the thing. There's going to be no water. It's like, well, you're the one that drinks almond milk 6 times a day. Yeah. Like, that's what's, you know what I mean?
There's going to be water.
We're going to desalinate the oceans.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. You're going to be fine if you want to don't not have a kid. And also, I think that children choose the parents, and I think that people think they're more in control than they actually are. So it's like, I know I used to be. I'll never have kids. Yeah. I didn't say I would never have kids because this isn't the world I want to bring them into. I was fundamentally selfish.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't want to have kids, because it would, you can't be quite as selfish when you have
You
children.
weren't ready at the time until you were.
Exactly. And I had met my wife, but
yeah, you hadn't met the mom.
the right person. But yeah, I think it's a fine world to have kids in right now. It's a perfect world to have kids in, just like it always has been. It's like perfectly horrible.
This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. So this was a week where I really, how like for a lot of people, the DJ saved their life, This week, my therapist saved my life because turns out I have something called stored anger. I just don't cry when I need to cry. And I don't know, maybe I make jokes, I diffuse, whatever. I don't know what to tell you. I'm a showboat. I use it as an engine to perform for drunk people. But I have a situation in my life that is so, it's like walking on a tightrope right now, like dealing with a person where there's nothing I can say to them that they're not going to turn into some other thing. Mm-hmm. And I've just been scheduling a session with my therapist, and she said something that was so helpful, because I was like, oh, I feel kind of like, how crazy am I that I've been going to like having sessions every week this week? And it's normally not like that. It's one or whatever, but it's in crisis mode. And she was like, think about it. She's like, if your relationship is broken or something's broken, you're going to go to therapy, every day. If you have physical therapy, like if you broke your ankle, you might need it every day for a while. And then you'll go back to like once a week or whatever. So it's just like I'm very grateful that BetterHelp exists, because I would not be going if I had to get in a car and drive even 3 minutes. That is like, I can't believe, because I used to always like for therapy where you'd have to drive, it would be like, like I would just always cancel, because just the idea of driving was so much more traumatic than anything that happened in my childhood. BetterHelp.com. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/Whitney. Get 10% off your first month. That's crazy. 10% off your first month. You can switch therapists at any time. You can choose and switch. I just remixed it into one word. And that's BetterHelp. BetterHelp.com. You can't lose. The only thing you might lose are all the narcissists in your life. And let me ask you one more thing about the robot. Sorry. And then I'll stop. Robert Greene, who is 48 Laws of Power. You guys know him. Been on the podcast a bunch of times. His theory about aliens is that they wouldn't be able to survive the trip if they were made of the same thing we're made of. So they would actually have to send robots in order to survive the trip.
Yes.
And do you ever meet someone who you're kind of like, if the aliens had sent robots that don't know they're robots, they think they're human.
Yeah.
This would be one of them.
Yeah.
Like
I didn't have that in my head. I'll add it to my list of things I don't say when I meet people.
People where you're kind of like, okay, how would that happen? And I've gone through a lot of what like adoption agencies. Like maybe that's just where they, maybe some of the adoption agencies are fake, and they've got, it's robot babies that grow up like, and they move through the world to surveil us or whatever. They think they're human. Who knows? But what better way to hide in plain sight if you're an alien than just to send people that look like humans? That's always my theory about like spaceships and aircrafts. I'm like, don't you think they'd be smart enough to make them look like airplanes and helicopters?
Right. Why?
Whatever. Why?
Clouds.
Yes, exactly. Clouds, storms, tornadoes, whatever. And because I remember when I met Angela White, she's a porn star, like just lovely. Her pores are so tiny. Like she's flawless in a way that doesn't make any sense. The way she's built is like if you were a alien species and you needed to infiltrate lots of different, like this is just an access machine, and she became a famous porn star. Remember she came on, I couldn't even get any darkness out of her. She was just her brain moved so fast. Like her mom is accepting of her being in porn. Like nothing. I just was like this. If there was a robot that didn't know they were a robot, it's this person.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Too intelligent for her proportions. Like doesn't make sense.
I get you. I see
physically at all.
Right.
No, a complete absence of some of these like human, like shame and whatever. She's just an awesome person. Whatever. It's a compliment.
My friend Connor Habib was a famous gay porn star, and he's mystical. And it's like it just really shows. The
aliens are in porn is what I'm trying to say.
God, I want that timeline. They came to That's it.
And because we ostracize them a little bit. We're kind of obsessed with them. I mean, what could as much as these people that if they weren't robots?
Hiding in plain sight.
You guys are watching them all day.
You porn. Maybe that's it. Maybe like they have a way of somehow like taking energy from like porn ejaculate.
And
that fuels their ships. They're extracting oil from us. It's like fracking. They're cum frackers. You figured it out. Don't drive your Tesla. You're done. They're going to get you. You gave it away.
Because like if they're already here, which is very likely.
Very likely.
What are they? Are they, we've talked about like being an octopus. Are they bats? Are they pigeons? Are they orcas? Are they?
They're not my stepsister. You know that genre of porn?
No, okay. Okay, got it.
You know how gross incest porn? That fucking not my mom. The worst.
I thought MILF was pretty big.
No, you can't say, I think legally you can't be like, here's a video of me psychologically devastating myself and my mother permanently. But you can say, not my mom.
But it's not really, it's actors.
No, it's not really. It's like, no, it's definitely not. I mean, maybe if you go on the dark web.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure, like, hopefully not. Jesus
like, there's
Christ.
a couple things. Honestly, porn sometimes gives me a lot of hope. Like, when people complain about porn, like, I guess, always have a hot take, which is like, you go on, like, the number one is MILF, which I don't know if that's just people making sure, like, they're not into anything illegal. They're like, I just want to be sure this is super above board.
Yeah.
Or if it's men that just, their wife just gave birth and they want to go make sure everything is supposed to look like that or something. Dark nipples is a big thing. It's a big fetish.
No way.
I found out when I was getting the robot made, the number one request of men that get custom sex dolls is nipples, large nipples, dark and puffy nipples.
That's so sweet. You know why that is, right? You know why? Because you got a baby.
Devastating. Well, because it's sort of, that's how we breastfed. The nipples get darker so the baby can find targets.
It's a target for the baby so it can find the nipple.
Find it.
Poor guys.
I know, honey. And something that was very heartening about this, I thought I was going to go into this leaving, with hatred in my heart. And it was actually the opposite. Like, the number one request of the sex dolls is that they're bigger, that they have thicker thighs, bigger butts, but they're just too heavy. Like, they don't have the technology now to sort of make them. So they're like tiny. And their biggest complaint is that they're too skinny.
Because their mommy wasn't skinny.
Although a big order is, maybe you can tell me what this is. Big request is green skin.
Why can I tell you what that? Now I know how you really think about me, Whitney. I don't know.
Isn't that like from a video game or something? With
Frogger.
With
they want to go back to playing Frogger while they breastfed.
With elfin ears.
I that's just people who are into World of Warcraft, maybe.
Okay, maybe just something with green skin. And they also make sex toys. One of their biggest requests for sex toys was the penis from the frog guy in The Shape of Water. Remember The Shape of Water?
I never saw it.
What? Whoa, dude.
Is it good? I missed it.
Whoa. Because in Appalachia, there have been a lot of sightings of like a upright lizard man in the swamps and stuff.
Yes.
A couple people have seen him.
Yeah, I sucked his dick on a hike. It was wonderful. I usually don't do that, but it was just like, he was like actually really romantic.
Romantic.
No, it was a couple of hikes. He like first time he just wants to, hike with you. He smells really good. Like,
he does.
Oh my God, it's so nice.
He comes from the swamps, though. No,
I know. It's like pine trees and fresh wind. But sucked his dick out there. I get it.
If aliens are here, what are they? Gun to your head.
Interdimensional, some kind of interdimensional thing that is protruding into our reality that is like actually constructing, is intentionally showing itself to us as some form of like mode of initial communication, because it doesn't have to.
Yeah.
And kind of trying to see what our deal is. And then probably has some like interest in like introducing us slowly to like reality versus our reality, three-dimensional reality. He's probably trying to like check us out. Are we ready? And then it either that
They're
or
like, they're not. Are we? Do you think if we learned about if the government really knew something, which I don't know, I don't have as much faith in the government as a lot of other people. I don't know if you've been to the DMV recently. I'm like, they don't know. Like when you just see their computers that are
it's so old.
Yeah, you're kind of just like when you go to the DMV or deal, like go down to pay a ticket at the courthouse, you're like, the government is not ahead in any capacity of us, like is my guess. Or if they do, they lost the paperwork, there's shit. Like everyone was drunk in the office till like 5 years ago.
Right.
What are the chances any of this stuff? It's like when you look up the JFK stuff, whatever, and you're just like, the documents are missing. They just would get drunk and burn it.
Yeah.
Like there's no way any of this has been. And I also, I guess for me, maybe I'm too cynical about human nature, but I find it very hard to believe that if someone in the government knew something, our need to get chicks, impress people, like someone would snitch.
They did.
Right?
They are.
But wouldn't someone show a photo? Wouldn't someone?
They have been forever.
Yeah.
There's story after story of just what you're saying, of presidents or comedians. I can't remember that there's a famous comedian, musicians being introduced to this information by people in the government who just wanted to impress
them.
And then they leak it and then they're just ridiculed for it. But now you have over 22 whistleblowers who've sworn under oath.
Mm-hmm.
You have Chuck Schumer
right.
writing legislation.
Right.
What is the political benefit from telling the world that you're creating legislation to get spaceships out of the secret bunkers? There's no reason you're doing that as a serious politician like Chuck Schumer, whether people like him or not. Look at Chuck Schumer. Does he seem like an alien guy to you?
No.
Does he seem
like a Lacoste guy?
Yeah, you're not going to run into him at Burning Man while he smokes DMT and tells you about...
I mean, he definitely has Lyme disease. He feels like a Hamptons guy.
Yeah, he's a Hamptons guy.
He passes out every time he makes this legislation.
Grassley, the other senator, he kind of seems like a UFO guy to me, and I like UFO people, but he seems more like I could, see being over at his house having some barbecue and being like, look up there, you don't know I could be up there, man.
Yeah. He wears a scarf in the summer.
Marco Rubio does not strike me as a UFO person. So suddenly we have all these politicians who, as far as I'm concerned, have no political benefit. I think that what's really, at least in this small period of time, before we find out this is all shit or it isn't, the UFO skeptics who have logically, naturally tried to debunk every single firsthand account from people in the military who had nothing, no reason to gain. We've been good at debunking all the footage and all of it. And we need people like that. Thank God they exist. Or people like me would burrow into the earth and never come out. Like, it's nice. I like debunkers. I like having my shit shot down. I like being like, oh, right, I'm dumb.
Yeah.
And I fall for stupid stuff all the time. But now, suddenly the debunkers are having to deal with, okay, but this isn't a farmer. This isn't an anomalous military person.
Yeah.
This is the top people in the U.S. government saying they've been debriefed and shown things that seem to potentially originate from a non-human intelligence, to the point they're writing legislation.
Yeah.
So now we have to recalibrate all that.
And sorry, 2 questions. Number 1, would Trump have found out about it? I just feel like if Trump knew about aircrafts, it would have been the first tweet off the presses that morning.
Yeah. No. The president, because the way that they figured out how to hide this shit is by letting private contractors have the wreckage, reverse engineer it, because it's Lockheed Martin, Raytheon. I mean, I don't know for sure it's any of these people, but the private contractors apparently. So if you're the president, and you're like, okay, what about the aliens? Question number 1 is probably what they call it in the CIA. When you get the first question, no.
Yeah.
We don't have aliens, because we don't. Lockheed's got the aliens. They're reverse engineering for it. Reverse engineering it and sharing the tech with us. So that is why the Whistleblower Act they just passed is causing the sea change that we're witnessing because
isn't the Whistleblower Act not perfect yet because it doesn't protect the families? I think they're still trying to figure out how to protect the families
right.
of them.
Yeah. You don't. Yeah, exactly. Like you don't a lot. Exactly. It's
Maybe.
not perfect, but it worked because all of a sudden all
People
these
were able to-
contractors are coming out of the woodwork.
And why don't they want us to know? Because number one, there would be mass panic. Number two, there's some technology that they're going to benefit from, and telling us would mean that, they would give us information that would not be exclusive to them, and they can't profit wildly. Or is it just, because there's already mass panic about many things without this. Like, what is the main reason they won't just tell us?
I think about it all the time. I don't know. I mean, lots of reasons, lots of possible reasons. One, it could just be basically fundamentally, constitutionally illegal to take taxpayer money and then like shift that money to private contractors to reverse engineer technologies that they then profit off of with no benefit for the taxpayer other than some potential like new military tech. So it could.
But
just
when
be,
has something being illegal stopped the government from doing it? So now that we're in the thick of summer and I'm in the thick of becoming the thickest lass alive because I got knocked up and I can't stop jamming my pie hole with whatever I can find at the nearest gas station, I decided to stop giving myself gestational diabetes and to instead start ordering Factor meals. If you're like me and you also lack self-control, but also demand yourself be in perfect health, you're looking for wholesome, convenient meals to support active days running around, editing the F-bombs out of your podcast so it doesn't get taken off YouTube. You're busy. Factor is America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit. It helps me fuel up fast with flavorful and nutritious ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to my door. They even dodge the coyotes. That's how smart they are. You'll save time, you'll eat well, and you'll stay on track in reaching your goals. Dude, I'm telling you, they just deliver meals. I'm not going to the grocery store anymore. The grocery store is canceled. I saw a video online of a guy in leather walking a woman on a leash in a grocery store. It was either St. Louis or Germany. I don't remember, but the point is I'm never going to the grocery store again. So if you're too busy with your summer plans to cook, or like me, simply refuse to cook because knives are just too tempting when your baby's father is around, but want to make sure you're eating well, with Factor, you're going to skip the grocery store with all those weirdos with their wives on leashes, okay? Also, can't go to the grocery store anymore. You will get in an accident in the parking lot, and you will see someone not return their cart and have a conniption. Factor helps us skip the chopping, the prepping, the cleaning up, the crying, the nervous breakdowns, the cursing Chrissy Teigen for being so good at cooking for no reason at all. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are ready in just 2 minutes, the same amount of time it took me to conceive a baby. So all you have to do is eat and enjoy and get back to your life because you aren't an Amish handmaid and have better things to do. They also have calorie smart meals with around, I believe it's 550 calories per serving. They have protein plus meals with 30 grams of protein or more per serving, keto, calorie smart, vegan. They have it all. Factor also offsets 100% of their delivery emissions, source 100% renewable electricity, our production sites and offices. They feature sustainably sourced seafood. They're one of the few companies not pissing off the orcas. So if you eat Factor and then go on a canoe, you'll be like, I'm with Factor. They'll be like, you're good. Head to factormeals.com/Whitney50 and use code Whitney50 to get 50% off. That's code Whitney50 at factormeals.com/Whitney50 to get 50% off. You think America's the only country in the world a lot? Like, what does India have? Like, what does China have? We just don't know.
We don't know.
That's the one, we are not sharing information.
Definitely not. We don't know.
And then that makes me think that there's, just because, I don't know, I'm a little bit of a, moon landing was fake bitch, just because if you look at the footage, the fact that it's just like, looks like someone's hanging by a string, and I'm a Kubrick, I guess, I don't know. It feels like The Shining is about him admitting that he helped fake the moon landing.
I love that theory of The Shining.
How can it not be? Once you see it that way, it's impossible to see it any other way.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, this points to another explanation for why people are coming forward, which is to me the most optimistic explanation, is it weighs on to know something so potent and powerful, and to have to spend your life telling no one about it. And that's one of the theories of why the contractors are coming forward now, is it's like it eats you
I can't
alive.
live like this. Yeah.
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 Or they just get dementia or who knows,
Right.
it'd be interesting to like track what happens to all these people. But and my brain kind of goes like, oh, well, if we're always going to be in this like arms race, now maybe alien information race with Russia and China, are we going to like fake some stuff in order to feel like we're ahead? I guess maybe just because I have the moon landing thing I'm so obsessed with that.
Well, I mean, I could see like trying to make it seem like you'd reverse engineer the technology. I could see all kinds of who knows?
Yeah.
War is like such a complex and a huge part of war is secrecy. And who knows? I mean, I don't know. But I would say that the two main possibilities are equally bizarre. Like one, there's aliens, which is what? And then the other, okay.
I just think
guess.
that, I don't know, my brain now doing a little bit of digging of like them being under the ocean and
Yeah.
and being able to communicate through,
Orca.
sonar, orcas. I don't know. I think we're always looking up and we don't spend enough time looking underwater.
I
Because if
agree.
there's tunnels under the ocean and volcanoes under the ocean and all kinds of, and that's also yeah, dude, wouldn't you just make a blue whale a spaceship? Blue
would.
whales, if you've seen a blue whale, you're like, that's not an animal. That's a craft.
Yeah, I would totally do that. I would love to have a spaceship that looked like a blue whale.
And they just yeah.
Gone with the wind. Where'd Duncan go? I don't know. He said he was driving to the beach. I would be gone in my whale.
And because we assume that aliens are going to show up and walk like us and talk like us and look like us. It's so narcissistic and short-sighted. It's like they probably are not going to be using language because language is so imperfect.
Yeah.
How often do you talk to someone and they actually understand what you just said?
Right.
Misunderstandings is the basis for like pretty much everything. Like language is so imperfect. Like we were actually doing better communication wise with like sonar. Like that's actually a better form of communication because there's no like inflections that are gonna mess it up. It's not about how you're saying it, about you said it this way, but it was incongruous with what you were saying, whatever. Like it's just so it's like it feels like evolution kind of took a turn for the worst when words were brought into it.
Yeah, I love that idea. What's that called? There's a name for that. It's a really cool name. It's like the form of anarchism. There's this guy, I think his name's Zerzan.
To like reject words?
Yeah, that the moment we started using symbols to replicate reality,
Ooh.
Instead of being in reality, it created a separation between us and reality, which has resulted in all of human what we call civilization, which is just like varying attempts at replicating the natural world, all of them.
It's just so imperfect. It's like usually if when you were dating Erin or something, there might have been times that you would send her a song instead of try to say how you felt. You know what I mean? It's like words
emojis.
We're going back to kind of cave paintings. That works better sometimes.
It does.
Dancing Lady can say more than, anything at this point. But GIFs, visuals, memes is kind of saying more.
Yeah, it is. And then wait till like somehow that becomes 3D space mixed in with the song and emojis and who knows what, and maybe a feeling and a smell. That's going to be an amazing way to communicate with each other.
Ooh, the smell.
People are saying the idea that these even come from space is, very human. That we think, well, they come from space versus they come from time. They come from like an alternate dimension, an alternate universe. That we are them. That we exist. I mean, my God, if you want to really freak out, read the holographic universe stuff. The idea, and I'm not a mathematician, clearly, but apparently the circumference of a black hole is what determines how much volume is in the black hole, which is really weird. Doesn't make any sense. I just saw this wonderful YouTube video on the implication being that we are in some kind of two-dimensional film, essentially. Like the entire universe is 2D. That is somehow being like something is projecting 3D space, which we are thinking is reality when it isn't at all. It's some two-dimensional, and the circumference of the universe is where all the data is stored. That data is getting projected into 3D space. So these things could just be closer to the circumference data or the real data set. But we're not different from them, and we're still connected to them. So our thinking about just, not to go back to orcas, but think about the orca. It sees the bottom of the ship, jumps up, sees the monkeys on the ship. I think human technology is getting to the point where we're able to jump up a little bit out of time space. Maybe some of this radar tech that they have and some of this new technology is letting us see some other level of reality that we haven't seen before. It's not like the aliens just came here. It's like they've been here and now they're like, they can see us.
What if the orcas feel the intentions of the monkeys on the boat?
Right.
You know, what if they feel some sort of frequency? What if they're communicating via frequencies? You know, they attack some boats. They don't, you know, it's like, and granted, look, there's motors, there's noise, there's all kinds of stuff, but feeling the intention of these people are about to fish, they're about to take food from me. They're, you know, if they've evolved over time in order to feel the intention of someone, like we've cut ourselves off from our gut. Animals don't do that.
Right.
Animals don't go, no, this wolf seems like it just had a bad childhood and is doing the best it can with the tools it have. It's like, nah, dude, that shit's hungry. No, thanks. They don't evolve backwards yet. Whereas like, you know, like rattlesnakes are just starting to evolve to not rattle because yeah, dude, because the ones that rattle are the ones that reveal themselves and get killed, you know? So there's
bad news.
Like cows are going to start evolving to not make milk. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So it's like, we're kind of at this weird plateau where we're like stunted, it seems like a little bit in our evolution. I mean, you can argue that Darwinism is like people that fall off cliffs with taking selfies and, you know, the people that, you know, we'll say fall for fake news, quote, whatever it is. We'll figure out what other kind of Darwinisms we're like the people that jump off cliffs trying to get a Pokemon. That might just be new Darwinism. But the people that don't use phones might be the next Darwinism. The people that like stay analog, who knows? But animals, like they don't talk themselves out of their gut. Like where it feels like we're the only species that kind of does, oh yeah, he hurt me, but like, you know, he was doing the best, you know, he had a bad childhood and it was rough. Dad didn't throw a baseball with him. And like, so I'm going to keep this dangerous thing around me.
Right.
Or we just go like, I have an anxiety disorder. I need to take a pill to make me have less anxiety instead of going like, this is serving a purpose. Maybe I should get out of this relationship, out of this. Maybe anxiety is a good thing.
Yeah.
We like pathologize ourselves as like orcas don't go, the monkeys have thrown spears in the water the last 50 times and their engines have put oil in the water, but you know what? Let's let it slide this time.
Yeah, right.
You know?
You're just like,
maybe it's me. Or, you know what? Let me take a pill that makes me stop being scared of them. They just go, let me just get rid of this thing.
That'd be so depressing if we were able to like finally translate orca squeaks and all they've been asking for years is for Xanax. They're just like,
that's
you know
what they get in SeaWorld.
Scary it is down here. There's aliens down here, man.
They're programming us to capsize your boats.
They want us. They control us, man. Please, Xanax, booze,
dude. What if the Titanic people were just like by a killer whale?
I mean, my God, who knows? I think no matter what, things in the world are always going to get weird. I mean, we think aliens are weird. Our great grandparents thought cars were weird. You know, it's always.
Yeah. And they were afraid of elevators. They thought elevators were electrocuting them. They were afraid of trains. They thought, you know, so there's always some, you know,
some change. There's always some dramatic.
But what if this time we're right and we're just going like, yeah, but this has always happened.
It does.
Yeah.
Every single like generation has to deal with some anomalous madness that all of them are like, it's the end of the world. And I guess
imagine being like the first person to use a microwave.
There you go.
And be like, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
It's scalding hot in 30. There's no way this is good. And I think they were right.
Yeah. Probably right.
Imagine putting the first person putting a phone up to the ear with no cord. Like, what? Like, isn't this frying my brain?
Those things are dangerous. People take them apart and get blown up and electrocuted by whatever the thing is in the microwave that does the microwaving. I watch videos.
They still won't explain
what's it called? There's a thing in your microwave that does. It's an alien brain. It's adrenochrome.
Can't be good. Whatever it is.
Well, there's a
mini atomic bomb.
It's some crazy. There's a form of woodworking where, I mean, have you ever seen those cool scar patterns from people who get struck by lightning?
Fractals?
Yes. You can do that to wood by electrocuting it. And to get there, you pull some out of your microwave and you plug it into the wood, and the wood, it's beautiful, but people like explode themselves doing this shit. It became a YouTube trend. And so people like me were like, and I'll just open the microwave, put some jumper cables on this table, and voila, it's gonna be so perfect podcast table. And then they attach it, they touch it, and they're gone. Like it just blows your ass up. It incinerates you, burns your
Just a
house
regular
down.
microwave from Circuit City.
Look it up. It's a new technology death. Selfies, people trying to do like weird wood burning.
Do you see there was like
microwave
6 people in Alabama that died jumping off the back of boats for some TikTok challenge?
There you go. There you go.
Can you imagine the idea that if the Chinese government, whoever, I don't know, the TikTok thing, were like, I know how to get them to die. Just have them do these dangerous challenges.
Yeah.
We start the trend, give the trend,
Yeah.
Superficially inflate the likes to 4
There
million.
you
And then
go.
everyone's just going to start jumping and doing backflips off boats and having their heads decapitated by a propeller.
I mean, it
Like, we
sounds
don't need to kill.
ridiculous.
I think to me, that's always like the way that genius warlords will operate is we don't need to kill them. We will make it so they just kill themselves.
Exactly. It's like, it sounds so paranoid and insane, but you want to talk about evolution. Look at war and the way war has evolved over time. Drones dropping bombs on people in trenches, like in ways of conquering another country. Like, my God, what is more brilliant than Trojan horsing a technology into another culture, then in a very slow, subtle way, degrade that culture, and then just for and giggles, let's see if we can get some of them to like do the dumbest things ever. Can we get them to jump off boats?
And make it like their idea.
They're jumping off boats. What else can we do?
They're eating the Tide Pods.
They're eating
we made
Tide
them look
Pods.
delicious.
Yes. Like, and once you start, and just as an experiment to see, can I create mass hysteria? Can we create like a civil war with this stuff?
It's easy to do. Creating mass hysteria is pretty easy to do.
Pretty easy to do. Look at
These
War
days.
of the Worlds. Like when that radio play came out.
Yep.
People killed themselves.
Can I just ask you one last thing and then I'm going to let you go?
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me keep you so long.
I
I
loved it.
love you and I love talking to
hanging out with
you.
you.
Shoot. And of course I forgot. Mom brain is a real thing.
It is real.
I am embarrassed because whenever my friends are like, mom brain, I'm like, no, you were always kind of dumb.
By the way, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's just the most wonderful thing ever. I mean, I'm now a true breeder. And I just got to tell you, it's the best. It really is the most beautiful experience. And, especially for me, because I don't have to grow the baby in my body. So,
I love it when men are like, motherhood is amazing.
It's
Pregnancy.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's wonderful as a dad. I don't have to get up 90 times a night to pee, all the things. But, and I honestly, I know that I'm speaking for my wife. It's worth it, because I really can't say it's worth it, because my body's not going to get, my pelvic floor is.
Why does it have to be a floor?
I don't know.
It's the glass ceiling, pelvic floor.
other
What
name for it?
architectural dork made up all these body?
Can it be a window?
I know.
That'd be a floor.
Yeah, it's just, I know everyone's like, you need to do pelvic floor exercise. It's just so, like, people, it is really interesting when you are pregnant, the amount of like wild oversharing people will do right away. And my dude is actually the worst. Because he's trying so hard to like have it be like to pull his weight in the pregnancy. So
That's
I'm like,
really great.
which is very sweet. But dude, you're never gonna, like he'll like go, he has this little calendar that says like every day what my body's doing. And it's always makes me nauseous. Like he's like, today, okay, so you're 5 weeks in a day. Today you're making eyelashes. I'm like, bleh.
That's kind of cool, man. I never did like that.
I'm like, he's like, and today you make the fingernails. I'm
That
like,
is so cool. Listen, I'll tell you. I mean, try to see the intent behind it, because like nothing will make you feel more sort of like out of the loop as a dude than like while your partner is like growing a human being.
Right.
What can you do?
Nothing.
you can
Nothing.
like try to, but even attempts at support sometimes can like can come off the wrong way. Behind it is like, I don't know what to do. Please don't die. When you have the baby, please will you stay alive? I don't want you to die. But what comes out is like, so how you feeling? Oh, okay. Well, shot the baby.
You look bigger today.
Yeah,
Don't say that.
Yeah.
Don't say that. Looks like it's really growing.
Yeah. While you're like so I don't know. I have some. I mean, I have some compassion.
There is,
for us.
and I have a couple girlfriends that I text with just to be like, is it normal to want to kill the person that got you pregnant every now and then if they bring home vegan cream cheese instead of regular cream cheese?
Cum poisoning.
And there's just like a little, so every now and then, I don't know, just the hormonal rage comes up if it comes to food. Because he's like, I'll do the grocery runs. I got this. And he'll come home. He always comes home with some cauliflower gnocchi. And I'm like, can I just get an In-N-Out burger? Like, I just want, like, you never know what you're going to kind of crave. But wait, what I was going to say.
It's not normal. That's never happened in the history of pregnancy. I've never.
I was going to say, it's so, what's the word? It's so cliche to say, but I was like, I cannot believe I'm like an 80s Sigourney Weaver rom-com being like, where are my pickles and Nutella? You know, but it just weird. Your body starts taking over. You become this zombie and the baby's like, this is what I need today. You know, you become a puppet of this little baby vampire. My question for you though, and I think also the terror, like whenever we're angry, we're usually just scared. And there is this terror that kicks in, even though I know billions of women have done this in the woods and been, you know, well, a lot died, but where you're kind of like, there's no good way for this baby to get out. And that is so, like, there's no cool way, like chill way for this to get out.
There's not.
I'm either going to get severed open or my vagina and asshole are just going to become the same hole. Those are my options.
I mean,
seems like.
Shouldn't have eaten the fruit. Shouldn't have eaten the fruit.
Like,
in the garden of
did
Eden.
your wife get scared about what? I just want to know how it's going to go.
Well, I mean, the first of anything is obviously like really intense and scary. So
I just feel like humans are evolution wise, we're a little behind. It's a little barbaric that there's not just like a zipper, you know.
Well, you shouldn't have listened to the snake.
Are they?
That's why you don't talk to snakes, Whitney.
The sickest part is before I got pregnant naturally, which I'm convinced is a vaccine injury. I don't know how this even happened. But I was like, oh, I'll get a surrogate. The idea that I was like, yeah, I'll just have someone else go through the horror, you know, of it. Like that's how terrified I've always just been about just like birth in general. It just seems barbaric.
I think that, you know, I can only obviously speak as an outsider in this situation, but I do think that I've noticed that a beautiful, real connection emerges in every pregnancy between Aaron and the baby because there's a baby in
it's
you,
wild,
and the baby is like communicating to you, and it
Mhm.
may be in a non-language language, but within that, I think within that relationship, it's not like the baby's telling you, "I'm not going to turn your asshole and pussy into one hole," but you're not getting like that kind of comfort. But there is. As you realize maybe what is growing in you, this rising sun thing, that maybe something about that level of love that forms makes you a little more willing to have one hole down there just because you want to hold the baby so much. Again, speaking as an outsider here, just watching, I mean, it just looks very uncomfortable. In the heat.
I will say, I've always thought it looked very uncomfortable to have a dick and balls.
Well,
feels fair.
I mean,
I would rather have this 9 months, maybe twice in a lifetime, than a dick and balls all the time.
You know, Roger from my men's rights group says that he says that having a dick and balls is like 50 times more painful than giving birth. Just the day-to-day experience of dick and balls.
And the stress of it, you land on a plane and it gets hard.
Do you know Roger?
He was in the sex robot chat room.
Because, interestingly, like, the same way you vape is how Roger jerks off on planes.
In front of my niece?
And under the blanket, Whitney.
I didn't know until I dated a guy that kind of had school shooter incel energy that he explained to me, like, and he was like, in high school, you always have a boner. He was like, in like grade school, like it starts, or middle school, I guess. He's like, you start having a boner and like you just have a boner all the time and you have to sit at a desk and like deal with your boner. I was like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
No one talks about that.
No.
Men don't tell girls about that.
What are you going to be like? Hey, I've got a boner. So should we get an appetizer?
No, but if someone had just said, hey, because girls are like, high school is so traumatic. We have to go to prom. We have to deal with acne. And guys aren't like, we have boners all the time.
You got to do the boner walk.
Is that a book bag?
There isn't a boner walk, but I mean, if they invented something, a boner hider, which they could never do because it's like
that's what desk.
But you need to if you're coming in to class and your cock has just decided like, okay, I guess we're gonna fuck in algebra. You gotta like do this weird like hobble, and every guy knows what you're doing. Like everybody knows.
Every guy knows.
Walk.
Every guy knows.
Yeah.
I literally did not know that. I was just kind of like, guys have it easy in high school. And they're like, he's like, we always have a boner.
I'm sorry, but getting a boner is not like the worst thing.
But you're hiding something. You're embarrassed.
It is embarrassing. No, it truly is.
I sort of used to go through life thinking men did not deal with embarrassment.
We don't.
Until like
when did we start?
I just mean like in high school feels very traumatic for girls, but now I realize it's also traumatic for guys.
Yeah. I mean, that is true.
No one told me that.
I don't,
we were in the OB, like the office, and this like the music that plays is like Zen, like Tibetan bowls or something like that. And he's like, do you like this music? And I was like, yeah, it's fine. He was like, I'm rock hard. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, I don't know. Just this music.
Wait, your boy, your partner, not the OB.
No,
I'm sorry. I thought you were saying the fucking doctor. I'm trying to draw the connection. Like, what? You like Tibet? Okay, let's get you in the heart. Oh, rock hard. Something about these gongs.
Yeah, I need to get new insurance policy. Okay, last thing is your special. You're shooting it soon. When is it coming out? Are you excited?
Well, yeah, it's this weekend coming up.
Whoa!
And
let me let you go.
Yeah, it's exciting, and there's a lot. Lance Bangs and we've come up with this very cool idea, which I don't want to share yet, about what it's going to be. But I'm really, I was already excited about it. Now I'm, oh fuck.
Are you shooting it? Can I ask where you're shooting it?
The mothership.
Sick. Oh, sick. And then do you know where you're going to release it?
I don't want to talk about that part of
it.
it. But I want it to be we're working on that. It's pretty cool though.
Yeah. No, I'm like, I just was like, I'm a little bit of a place where we keep realizing now on YouTube you can't say certain things, and I'm just kind of like,
yeah, it's podcasting.
Asking, yeah,
no, it's not like some like secret thing. It's just we haven't quite like developed this idea out, and I don't want to talk about it till we're like certain of what it's going to be. But I'm quite excited about the possibility.
Okay, cool. So I'll see you at the show tomorrow. Thank you for taking the time to do this. I love you.
Chatting with you. I love you. You're the best.
What do you mean? And I forgot 500 of the things I wanted to ask, but that's probably a good thing because you got to get to the gym.
Whitney, thank you so much, and thanks for coming on my show.
You're the best. Come on. All the pods. Tell me the pods besides your main one. Don't you have a new one?
No, just the Duncan Trussell Family Hour.
Nice.
Midnight Gospel on Netflix.
Nice. And then which is the most genius thing.
Thank you.
Love you. Bye. Don't ride elephants.
Bye.